Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of What I Learned with Cole Pitt. You guessed it, I'm your host, Cole Pitt. Today's episode is what I learned growing up cooking. I'm going to talk about some of the lessons I learned growing up in the kitchen with my grandma, on the grill with my uncles, and watching cooking shows like Chopped or Beat Bobby Flay, and all the things I learned from that. Cooking is a lifelong skill, hobby, and literally adventure. You don't know what's coming around the corner, and it's one of the most exciting things that I do in my life. It's one of the best ways to make sure your life does not become boring. Life is too short to have a boring meal. It doesn't need to be a fancy meal. It can be made of saltines and canned tuna fish. But if you put some intention into it and get a little pizzazz and spice it up, it can be one of the most delicious appetizers you've ever had. Or it could taste like cat food. It's up to you, if I'm being honest. Amuse bouche is my favorite term in the world. Well, besides vichyssoise. Vichyssoise is actually a cold Irish soup, potato soup. Actually, that's the dumbest thing in the world. It's called vichyssoise. It's a cold French potato soup. I said Irish because of the potatoes. But it also just sounds really fancy. In an episode of Drake and Josh, when they're pretending to be doctors, Josh comes in and says, "Hello, I am Dr. Vichyssoise." And they're like, "Oh, Vichyssoise." And he's like, "I don't know, it's a type of soup." So now whenever anything sounds fancy or nice, I'm like, Vichyssoise. But the other phrase, to make a long story longer, was amuse bouche. It's a little morsel, a little taste of the flavors you're going to be having later in the meal that gets you a little spice of life, gets your palate a little warmed up, getting ready for the deliciousness coming in the proximate future. If you live life thinking about amuse bouche, it's one of the most beautiful things you can do. Think about the amuse bouche to a long weekend with your friends that Thursday night when you're getting excited, ready to go. Maybe even the car ride there. Maybe the Wednesday night you like start packing. Maybe put a little bit of the fun party music you're gonna be listening to that weekend on the Wednesday night. That's a amuse bouche of life. Amuse bouche in the kitchen is one of the greatest things also. Give yourself a little taste. It's that little taste you steal while you're grilling of the piece of steak, of the piece of salmon, of the shrimp before you put it out in the kitchen. Those best little chef's bites, you can give that to your people too. Whet their palate, get them ready to eat, and they'll be so excited to eat whatever you want to cook. All right, that was one of the most random intros in the world, but now let's get into actually what I've learned cooking. And we got to start all the way back in the beginning, and I'm talking summer vacations with my grandma. Every summer, my mom was one of eight. All of my cousins and we would get dropped off at one of the aunts' houses, and grandma would be there ready to watch whatever giant group of us there was. We're talking Elio's pizza, we're talking cold cut roll ups, we're talking pieces of toast with cinnamon sugar on it, just all the basics, summer classics. A wet ham and cheese sandwich coming out of the pool. Come on. What's better than that? Throw some Doritos on it. But also, grandma was willing to let you in the kitchen whenever you wanted to cook anything extravagant. She was down. Grandma was a great chef, is a great chef, still around, putzing around, driving herself, watching all the grandbabies, watching now the great grandbabies, absolutely killing life. But grandma loves food, and she taught me that because I was curious as a kid. I was like, "What are you eating, grandma? Why are we eating Elio's pizza? What do you have over there? What's that funky smell you have going on?" And grandma coming straight from Germany. We're talking she's eating sardine sandwiches. We're having liverwurst. We're having anything under the sun you can think about. And as a 3-year old, 2-year old, if I was questioning it, grandma was like, "Sure, hop on up, take a bite. You might not like it, but you could try it." And I was so game. Whether it's grandma making an omelet with like mushrooms, I was like, "What does that smell? Let me get in on that." But she also wasn't about to just give me a bite of the omelet. She was saying, "Come over, grab a stool. You're standing next to me, and we're going to learn how to cook this omelet." And it just absolutely inflamed, ignited my curiosity in the kitchen. I wanted to know how to do it, not just know how to eat it. How'd you make that so delicious, grandma? How can I make that? Let me cook. How do I get to make all these different things where everyone's like, "Wow, that was so good"? I want to be able to present that to people as a little kid. Also, even thinking about, wow, I want to be able to have the opportunity to eat all these delicious flavors at my disposal. Someone give me that knowledge. Now, I didn't think about that in the moment. I was more like, this is delicious, grandma. Let me have more. And she was like, all right, well, you're going to learn how to make it too. And then you have to learn all the skills and the basics of working in the kitchen, how to turn on a stove, how to work with the heat and use variable heat. Sometimes you want to be on low heat, sometimes you want to be on high heat, explaining why you want to do those different things. It's so many different intricate lessons you have to learn to function in the kitchen that you don't think about because now you don't think about cooking scrambled eggs. You just know how to do it. But there was a time where you didn't know how to do it and you had to just like ease your way in, experiment a little bit, realize, oh, if I start with low heat here, high heat here, if I mix this much before, add in the cheese at this point, the vegetables at this point, blah, 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 blah. Cook with butter, more with spray. It's all about through doing. You learn so much. But being in the kitchen with my grandma really started it all. And so much of it was trying all these different weird foods that my grandma had. A liverwurst sandwich is one of the greatest things I've ever eaten in my life, and I still will love it to this day. It's also a meal you bring to the cafeteria lunch table in the first grade, and everyone's like, what the heck is that brain poop looking thing you have on your bread? And I'm like, oh, you mean liverwurst? Doesn't that sound so appetizing? And everyone's like, what? Now, where I grew up in Albany, a bunch of my friends also went to the same German butcher and got liverwurst too. So it was a little bit different. Might not have been as bad as like someone bringing in egg salad, but it was so different from having a cold slice of pizza or the chicken patty sandwich they were selling at school. But being able to open my mind to these different types of food is the reason I was 2 years old down the Cape being cut off from eating raw oysters because my parents were like, I mean, he's loving them. And the waiter's just like, we've seen him eat like a dozen oysters. You might not, you might not want to give him too many more just in case he gets sick. Now, did I ever get sick? No. Do I still love oysters? Yes. That's just another example of when your palate starts to get expanded because you think of it as a cool, adventurous thing because my grandma presented it in such an open way. It wasn't forcing you to eat this or eat this. It was when I showed interest in what she was eating or what other meals were being cooked, she was like, well, let me show you why it tastes so good. Let me show you how I got it here. Or if we cooked it this way, it could have this different flavor or texture. And maybe you would like that one more. And then that kind of opened my mind to, well, why would I say no to trying any type of food? Because these things that seemed so off putting from the very beginning are some of the most delicious flavors I've had. And I was willing to try them because why wouldn't I trust my grandma? I think is probably what it comes down to. Grandma's only given me delicious food. So if she's eating something, then that must be pretty delicious. Also because this woman has watched her 10,000 hours of Emerald, Barefoot Contessa, whatever you want to call your favorite Food Network chef. She's watched it. And she's watched a billion hours, Giada, whatever you want to do. Personally, I was a Chopped guy. I also love a little bit of Barefoot Contessa, a little Beat Bobby Flay, diners, drive-ins, and dives. Even Man vs. Food. Watching any of those shows just gets you thinking, like, look at all the different foods out there. All the different places and types of foods compared to the ones just in your little circle. It's crazy how it can change. We'll get to that part later. But so we started off with grandma in the kitchen. That's what really, really sparked my interest in cooking. And then I have a very vivid memory of a second thing that got it really going. And it was, and I might be butchering the name on this, it was Eddie's $1,000,000 Cook-Off, the Disney Channel movie about the boy who's on the baseball team and absolutely loves playing the sport. He's like the stud on the baseball team. But then he joins his cooking club, or he has to join the cooking club for some reason. But he absolutely falls in love with it. In the pivotal, like one of the most specific things that I vividly see in my head is he learned how to crack an egg with one hand. And I was like probably like 6 or 7 or 8. I don't even know. And I was like, well, I'm going to learn how to crack an egg in one hand. And I definitely ruined like 3 eggs, or definitely ate a bunch of eggs that had shell in it, or probably fed it to my little sister on a summer vacation day. But the ability to crack an egg with one hand, then getting that down, I thought this was the coolest thing in the world. I'm in the kitchen just being like, oh, want some scrambled egg? One hand. How about that? One hand. That simple little trick. It's no different than like learning how to throw a spiral or hit a curveball or do a backflip. It had an instant gratification of, I know how to do this now. I know how to do something that other people don't know how to do, something that I didn't know how to do before, and it's pretty cool. I saw them do it on the movie, Disney Channel movie. The movie focused on how it can be cool for dudes to cook. Really hit me. And it was all that scene of being able to crack an egg with one hand. And the reason I found that so cool was because of the image my uncle created at our family lake house every single summer. My mom's one of 8. All of the 40 of us, aunts, uncles, cousins, pile into this house that is just, it's a camp. It's made to sleep a billion bodies. And every Saturday morning of that summer when we wake up, you have an assembly line of like 25 little kids. And there's only like 4 boys. So it's actually like 25 of my girl cousins and my sisters waking up with sleepy eyes, walking into the kitchen and being like, all right, hop in line. I'm talking cheaper by the dozen. Right? It's like our own little parent trap camp where you're popping in and there's 40, I am not kidding you, 40 kids in line waiting to get a bacon, egg, and cheese. And my uncle Kevin has this assembly line absolutely humming. That would make Henry Ford put him to shame. He's got English muffins cut on a baking tray, put in the oven, pre-buttered, getting crisped up. He's got the big flat iron skillet making 12 eggs at a time while taking orders on the chalkboard. Over easy, over hard, cheese, no cheese, okay, bacon, no bacon. And he's running them through. And it's the classic, like when we had this place in Albany called Ted's Fish Fry, but one of those old establishments where you go in and no one's writing anything down. You order a regular, you're getting yelled back, I'll have a regular, 2 regulars, regular with cheese. That's how this kitchen's functioning. You're getting yelled at from across the room when you're walking up. Good morning. What do you want? You want cheese, eggs? Boom. All right. And it's getting thrown in line. And after a few summers of watching that and realizing the rhythm he was getting into and how it was his favorite part of the day, I was like, I want to be in on that. I want to try that. I was probably the most annoying kid if you think about it. I want to try that. I want to try that. But they were the best because they let me try it. Kevin's like, all right, hop in. Guess what? You're on English muffin duty. So I spent 2 summers just all I'm doing is cutting English muffins every Saturday morning. Like 50 English muffins, just cutting them in half, cutting them in half. Learning the different ways. You learn how you can poke in on the sides of the English muffins. You learn how to read the package, that they're actually called nooks and crannies or something like that. Bananas. You try it all out. I've become the most efficient English muffin cooker in the world. I have like a system, a rhythm to cutting and toasting English muffins. So you never thought I would have learned that. And then you graduate. All right, fine. You can flip the eggs too. You're taking the orders, you're doing English muffins, now you're flipping the eggs. All right. Not only am I now learning a new skill of flipping the eggs, how to make an over easy egg, how to make an over hard egg, when to watch them. You're also now learning how to multitask, how to time out putting the English muffins in versus how to when I'm flipping the eggs. I'm also taking orders. Which ones do I want to do first? If someone's getting their English muffin crisped up more and they're getting an over hard egg, that makes more sense. They'll have more time. But an over easy egg is going to take a little bit quicker. It's going to be a little quicker. So is an English muffin that's not getting toasted that much. But what if someone wants the English muffin toasted a lot, but the egg over easy? You have to time that. And over time, my uncle was giving me more responsibility. And he was learning, and I was learning over time how to balance it out, what strategies to use. He was giving me tips the whole time we're in the kitchen. Just little bits of information, little bits, not overwhelming at once, blah, 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 blah. Here's step 1 through 8 right off the bat. It's going to deter anyone. But here's step 1 and 2. Perfect that. Let's get great at it. All right, guess what? Next weekend, you're going to do step 3 and 4. If you want to push it, we can even go to 5. And over time, it became a system where I then just took over in the kitchen. 15 years old, 14 years old. I'm in the kitchen making 40 egg sandwiches, running bacon, running English muffins, running eggs, cheese, no cheese, getting the order. Then I employ my little cousin Preston. Now Preston's running around at 8, taking orders, coming in to me, telling me how many we need. He's then cutting English muffins and then is passing on. And you're learning these skills in the kitchen. You're also now learning how to multitask. You're learning how to plan something out. It's borderline project management if you think about it. You're having so many different moving parts. How to time it all together, because you don't want freezing cold eggs and burning hot English muffins, and the cheese is now hardened and not melted, and all these things work. You don't realize in the moment how many different skills you're learning about life. Also, how to function in a stressful situation. I mean, who's going to be more brutally honest with you than your 7-year-old cousin who just woke up starving, saying, I'm hungry? You got to get that girl a bacon, egg, and cheese quick, or she's going to be in a bad mood all day. And you're going to be dealing with that on the tube when you're trying to go tubing later, and they're all like crying and they're frustrated right away because they didn't eat their bacon, egg, and cheese. Well, that's because you made a gross bacon, egg, and cheese. Now, they probably should just eat it, but that's neither here nor there. Completely different box of frogs. But all the things we were learning in that kitchen were so integral to my excitement about cooking, my excitement about life, and also now learning how to function in this high stress situation with a lot of moving parts, being a leader in it, also learning and listening and taking directions, and then experimenting and testing things out. What works for Kevin? What didn't work for me? What's going to work for Preston? And that's one of the most important parts. It's really what worked for you, because cooking, as much as you don't want to believe it, is an art form. It's a form of creativity. You can do it one way, I can do it another way. And if we all get to our end that we want, if you're making a delicious product, who's going to say anything? It's what you made. And one of the places that I have learned that aspect of cooking the most is making what my family would consider the biggest piece of food art: the chicken wing. Now, it's probably because we're from upstate New York, but making a perfect buffalo wing is something that we take too seriously. It is something that you learn almost like golf. You be the ball, you become the chicken wing. It is not just a strict following. Each wing is different, each grill is different. You almost have to talk to it, learn its hot spots, learn its cold spots. Who likes to be flipped? Who wants to be a little more crispy? You have to learn what kind of wings your people want too. There are so many ways to cook a wing. But that is a skill I have learned from 10,000 hours spent over a grill cooking wings. You have to learn these little intricacies of the wing. So much so where this weekend, my family is visiting us out here in Boston. And my sister's boyfriend was like, wait, you haven't looked at the wings in like half an hour. You want to go check them out on the grill? And I was like, oh, yeah, you can go look at them. In my head and subconsciously, I was like, I think I know exactly what those wings look like. And it was exactly what those wings looked like. But I've only learned that because I spent so much time doing it. It's become second nature. It's become muscle memory. But my way of cooking wings might be a little bit different from my uncle's, but it's all coming from that same base. Because there is a set of instructions you follow with every part of cooking. But where you make it your art is where how you take the technical skill now and you add a little bit of your own flavor, pizzazz, or experimentation. And the sauce that comes with the wing is the perfect place to use that. The Ratatouille movie is almost the best example when you're making a soup or you're making a sauce, or the little scene of adding the cheese with the strawberry together and the flavor explosion in your mouth. It's all true. You learn all these different flavors from trying different foods, from trying different sauces, from trying the seasonings from this culture with this one. Oh, they mix these together. And then you go, I think that'll work well with that. And you have to experiment. Sometimes it might not work. Sometimes you taste test and be like, oh, I need a little bit more heat. Oh, I need a little bit more sweet. And then you work from there. One of my favorite stories is that I chopped up a bunch of artichokes into a vodka sauce I made once. I had a jar of artichokes and I needed a little more flavor for my vodka sauce. I diced them up and then they almost disintegrated into it. It gave the perfect flavor profile I was looking for. I fed it to my brother-in-law, who would never eat an artichoke in his life, would never even look at it. But he tried my sauce. He didn't know what was in it. He says it was delicious. Can I have some sauce to go? I still haven't told him there's artichokes in that sauce. If he's listening to this right now, sorry, Brennan. Probably not gonna eat my vodka sauce anymore. Or maybe I would tell him, and now we try artichokes in all different things. Maybe I expand his palate. Maybe this is now the reason he's opening that door. But the creativity and the trying, the freedom you can feel to try different flavors once you get cooking more because you think this will work with this. And guess what? It might fail. You're going to have a lot of times failing. You'll learn. You're going to eat a lot of really bad cooked chicken and steak and shrimp or whatever it is because you don't want to waste the food, but you made something that tastes like crap. But you're going to eat it. That's fine. You're experimenting, you're learning because then when you feed it to other people, don't experiment when you're feeding it to other people, maybe. Or take that risk. There's no better feeling than when you take a risk and then they're like, this is delicious. And you're like, oh my God, I could have just handed you absolutely something that I wasted so much time on. But I wouldn't suggest starting there. But the freedom it can give you and the way you learn to blend those flavors, I love doing the little fake chop kitchen at home. You don't watch Chop Chop's a show where you get like 5 ingredients and you have to be forced to make a meal out of it. Do that at home. It also save you so much money and you feel like you don't waste any food. You go in your fridge. I have like 3 ingredients. They don't go together at all. But what can I do to blend these together, add some seasoning? Maybe I'll buy one thing from the store and then we can have a perfect meal. And sometimes through that accidental experimentation, through adding the artichokes just because that's what you had, you'll learn a new staple that you're going to now cook at home all the time because it was a flavor that you would never guess to put together and it worked perfectly. And that's what cooking can bring you, these new ideas, these opening doors. And it can do it across cultures. And it really is a way to drive your traveling. I was not someone who traveled that much. I would go like, the 4 or 5 hours around where I grew up in the Northeast. But even that, go to different restaurants and learn about the different ways that they're cooking foods, the different French onion soup here from there, and want to try that at home. But now my wife has expanded my whole worldview of now we're going to bring food to the different places we're going. We're going to Canada. We're going to Italy. We're going to South America. And you're trying different foods there. Different types of foods, different types of seasoning, different cooking methods that I would never have guessed, but now are the most delicious things I've ever tried. And you can connect and talk with people through food where you might not even know the language. You go out there and if you're like, what is this? And they explain, oh, this is from here. This is why we mix this. This is what we do here. And you can talk through food and learn about them, learn about their family. They'll tell you a story about their grandma, how she cooked, and that's how they learned this. Oh my gosh, the first 10 minutes we were on our honeymoon, I was stressed out because I can't read any of the directions in Italian on the car. Our phones aren't working. We pull off to the side, and there's just this little Italian man who's like, come here, have a tomato mozzarella and a limoncello spritz. And you know what? Nothing in the world mattered. I sat there with my wife, with this little man, Giuseppe, and we talked about his family, the shack that they had making limoncello and tomato mozzarella and selling little sandwiches and wine out of a mile down from their house. And we learned so much, and the world was gone. We could just talk about there in that moment. I was learning about his culture. I wanted to learn more about everything around us. It made me want to travel more. And the table, the food being shared, it does remove you from the world. Your phone's gone. You're not thinking about all your stresses outside in work, in life. And that's the best part about going out to dinner. That's something you can learn about the event of going out to dinner, not even cooking yourself, but the intentionality that just sharing a meal can bring to you and the people around you. Going out to dinner is something that I am so happy my family gifted to us. Some people view it as a waste of money. I think it's something where you can remove yourself from even at home, sitting around the dinner table at home. It's hard sometimes to remove yourself from the stresses of your day in and day out life. Talking about what's going on right now or having the TV on or something like that. You go out to a restaurant, it's dimly lit. There's music playing. You're putting your phone away. You're talking about what's on the menu, the decor, random conversation topics. That's also why I love not looking at the menu before you show up. Let's read through the menu together. My favorite piece of reading I've done always is the most recent menu I've looked at. Oh my gosh, you learn about different things they're combining on their menu. Wow, I would never put this with this. Oh, it is an event where it can be a social stimulus. It gets you to go out and have conversations you wouldn't at home. opened up new forms of dialogue, new avenues of having a conversation with someone you never would have thought you would have had. But it's because you're in this setting, all everyone's guards down. You're sharing a meal. That's why I love also going and be like, let's all order these different things and share them together. Because it forces you to talk about the shared experience of the meal. And that brings you to talk about shared experiences in life. It's literally the best. If you're intentional about food, about cooking, about sharing that with other people, I promise it'll make you a continued learner. It'll make your life not boring because you're constantly going to have new things brought into it. And it's going to make you want to try new things even outside of food. And it is going to give you a lifelong skill and hobby that you can work towards forever. Learning new cooking skills. You want to feel like you're novice? Try making pasta for the first time. Try making pizza dough. Look up a new culture or recipe and try it for the first time. All of a sudden, you have a new thing. You might get it on the fifth time. You might get it on the eighth time. And then you won't get it for four more times, right? Then you'll get it correct again. But you want to get it until you can get it every single time correct. Cooking can become this obsessive habit that just opens up your worldview in so many ways and can connect you with so many people. It is the most beautiful thing in the world. This is a short look into what I've learned cooking. I actually had so much more. I lost a lot of it editing, but didn't realize I didn't have that much storage on the memory card. But hopefully, this is a good episode 2. I'm sure we'll do more episodes of what I learned cooking part 2 and 3, but for episode 2 of what I learned, I'm Cole Pitt. I'll see you next time.